Hello, this is my PowerPoint presentation for security in Java 2. I had parameterized queries, so let's get into it, and let's start out with what is a parameterized query. Well, parameterized query is also known as a prepared statement, so if you hear prepared statement, it's just the same thing as a parameterized query. And what that is just a way of writing safer SQL queries, and we'll get into why it's safer in a little bit, but just keep that in mind. And then there's also a precompiled SQL statement. And we use this because it's faster. So a precompiled SQL statement means it compiles on the first time the query is ran, rather than compiling it over and over and over again every time you need it. So it just makes it a lot faster. And we use placeholders inside of our code, which we will get into in a second as well. But we have to understand why would we want to do this. Well, the first reason is because it's just better coding practices. It makes it easier to maintain, it's easier to read, it's easier to change later on and for other developers to use. It's just overall better coding practices, and it's going to save a lot of headaches later. But more importantly, it stops SQL injection attacks. An SQL injection attack is just a way of attacking your program by entering SQL into your input field. So that could be anything from selecting data to dropping data or whatever it may be. So if we look underneath, we have an example. And I got this example from a blog on Microsoft. And it's just a really simple form. It's just a name and the email is what it's asking you to enter, right? So we have a name of Brian in this email. But after the email, he adds in the closing statement for the SQL, and then he adds in a drop table statement, which if you look underneath, you can see the SQL that would produce if we did not use parameterized queries. And if you look at it, it's valid SQL. So this SQL would run, and this would cause a lot of problems. I'm assuming that most applications, you don't want just anybody to come in and be able to drop tables or select information such as passwords. That could cause a lot of problems. Of course, there's a lot of assumptions that go in with this because more than likely your database would be set up in a way that any random user just wouldn't have permissions to come in and drop that table. However, you don't want to take any chances of anything happening. So yeah, and it just helps other places where SQL could possibly break. So for an example, if we were to put in a single quote inside of Brian's name, it would end the Brian string inside of the SQL statement, and it would break the insert into, and it would cause problems. So again, just more unexpected results, and we don't want that. Also, like I said earlier, it has better performances as many APIs will reuse the queries. So now we know what it is and why we do it. We have to understand how. And if you've been taking Java 2, you've been doing it even if you don't realize you are not. And so pretty much rather than concatenating the strings together, so rather than writing out select star from and then doing a plus whatever you want, use parameters or placeholders, which I have an example from the mini project 2 weeks ago where we had a Pokemon database. So if you look at it, we have select P from Pokemon P, where p.id equals :selected ID. Now I don't have any IDs inside of my ID for Pokemon where it's called selected ID. So if you look underneath, we have type query.setParameter select ID, and then Pokemon to delete.getID. So for example, that could be 7. So it would select Pokemon with the ID of 7. So again, that's a lot safer, it's faster, and it's a lot easier to change, and it's just better code. Thank you for watching.